welcome back to Watching Business Morning on this Boxing Day. Now, let's talk about the appropriation bill for 2024. It's titled Budget of Renewed Hope. We know that President Bola Tinubu is very strong on renewed hope. He campaigned on that tag, and this budget has a proposed expenditure of 27.5 trillion naira, an estimated revenue of 18.32 trillion naira. That's for the fiscal year. We have the details such as oil prices, about $78. We have production proposed at 1.78 million barrels a day. We have our naira at 750, and then targets inflation at 21.4. Meanwhile, of course, now we have inflation at above 28%. But let's try to find out more with the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation of Nigeria, the DG there, Mr. Ben Akabueze, joins us virtually. Good morning, sir, and happy Boxing Day. Compliments of the season.
Thank you, Ini, and happy Boxing Day as well. Just keep it to opening the boxes and make sure you don't box anybody.
I will. I'm trying to preach that message also. Well, even at this time, in the midst of the celebration, I guess we still have to face our reality. I don't know if you saw our report earlier from Nasarawa State about some of the harsh economic realities that individuals are facing in the country. But let's talk about the budget just before we end the year. We know that we're waiting on the lawmakers and then the assent of the president before we can activate the 2024 budget. But looking at the 2023 budget, what level or degree of implementation or percentage of implementation would you put it, the 2023 budget?
Well, as you know, the 2023 budget implementation remains ongoing until the 31st of December. And by the way, the National Assembly has also already passed its own resolutions to extend implementation to 31st March 2024. On the implementation of the 2023 budget, revenues are on track. Recurrent expenditures have been on track essentially. So it's the capital expenditure side that had been lagging in terms of the processes of agencies actually implementing and meeting the requirements for payment to be effected. The thing is, capital budget implementation is usually measured based on how much has been paid. In reality, the implementation of the capital budget is often significantly more than what is actually reported, because what happens is contractors that are on site working, generating certificates, and those certificates are then submitted periodically for a payment, and it's only when they're paid that performance is is recorded. But that payment often lags behind performance. So what then the recorded performance depends on how much of the capital expenditure gets settled before the end of this year, and that's an ongoing process.
So sometimes when we have these conversations, I mean, a couple of average Nigerians will ask, I mean, these things just come out as numbers to me. Does the budget even have an impact on my life as an average Nigerian? Why should I concern myself with all of these numbers and all this kind of conversation?
Well, if you're truly an average Nigerian, you will feel the impact of the budget, because the average Nigerian goes to public hospitals. Those public hospitals won't function without the budget. I mean, and oftentimes, yes, they may not be as well equipped as we want them to be yet, but even the payment of the salaries of the medical personnel just keeping those hospitals going is drawing on the budget. The average Nigerian sends his children to public schools. Those public schools won't be open without, the budget. The average Nigerian sends his children to, public universities. Nigeria's public universities are, on the cheapest anywhere in the world in terms of the cost of obtaining, tertiary education. That's all funded from the budget. The average Nigerian, is able to go about his business or whatever endeavors in life because there is some measure of security. It may not be, perfect. And I was listening to Danny, the general manager of Eco Hotels earlier on, when he said, look, there's nowhere, no country has perfect security. But, the soldiers, the policemen, the civil defense personnel, the federal safety corps people that, keep, watch over the highways on which we fly, the intelligence agencies, all of them are paid from this budget. So oftentimes when people say, that the budget doesn't impact them, I think the correct statement will be that people desire more, not that it doesn't impact them.
All right, so now let's look at some of those details of the proposed budget, the appropriation bill. For instance, a benchmark for oil at $78, oil production at 1.78, because all of this is what is going to help us get that expected revenue of about 7.94 from the oil. And we see what's happening with oil now, even though we have that tension on the Red Sea. But it's so close. I'm talking of the price and our benchmark. And when it comes to the production, we've not even been able to do 1.5, and yet we are pushing for 1.7. So sometimes these affect, of course, the revenue and affect the effectiveness of the budget. Or can we still make a change?
Well, first of all, projecting oil price is at best an art, not a science. Even though we tend to apply all kinds of scientific approaches to estimating, but many economists have had their careers damaged by taking a bet on oil prices. There are just too many things that impact oil prices, but we normally, pitch our oil price projection at the lower end of the averages of projections by knowledgeable entities across the world. And there are people who are in this business. But of course, there's so much that can affect oil price in either direction. In 2020, nobody knew COVID-19 will hit and create a lockdown of the global economy and drag down oil prices. You could not have modeled that, when you did the projections. But all I'd like to say is, apart from 2020, when COVID-19, messed things up, for all my time that I've been in the budget office, in the last nearly 8 years, the actual oil price every year has always exceeded our budget projections. And there's no reason to think that 2024 will be different.
Very interesting there, even though it's really close at this time, but we'll have faith with you. Another thing is the exchange rate. So we have it at 750 in the budget, but we know that even as we speak now, in reality, which is the parallel market, is over 1,000. What impact can that have to the implementation of the budget? And what adjustments can be done, to buffer some of those gaps?
Well, first of all, the budget is not based on the parallel market. And as the central bank has explained previously, the parallel market is a very noisy market, but it's not as large. It's no It's not compared to what you might call the official market, basically, in this case, the Nigerian foreign exchange market, which is currently the market. So we don't base the budget on the parallel market. However, the stark reality is that the parallel market does impact, prices in the market. So the cost of the procurement that government makes is impacted by it. So on the expenditure side, the parallel market does weigh on the the budget, but not in terms of our revenue projections. 750 naira to the dollar is currently projected as, that's the average exchange rate for next year. What that says essentially is that, yes, you may begin the year at a level higher than that, but if all of the things that the central bank has put in place in terms of the and not just even the monetary policy authorities, even the fiscal authorities, the trade policy initiatives, if all of these come together, we should expect to see significant increases in supply of foreign exchange to the economy in 2024. Let's get this right. It's as simple as that. The exchange rate is a function of the supply and demand of the dollar to this economy. If the supply increases, the naira will strengthen. And so our focus and the discussion really, rather than be fixated on the number of the exchange rate, the discussion should really be about what are we doing, what can we do more to stimulate the flow of foreign exchange, into the economy. And is 750 a desirable rate for 2024? People need to understand that the budget is a tool. The budget is a policy tool, and the most important from the standpoint of economic management, of public finance management, is the most important tool that the government has, uses and deploys, and therefore it must be tailored on government's economic policy objectives. So when you see an exchange rate of 750 naira to the dollar for 2024, which is lower than where we are today, it signals to you what the policy direction is of government, and that what government is working to is to see a strengthening of the naira. We could easily reduce the deficit in the budget and make our revenues look a lot better than they are by simply using a higher exchange rate. So when we choose this, it is because it is intended to reflect the direction of travel of government policy. If we wanted to just look better, to make our revenues look better, we'll just use a higher exchange rate and we'll report a lower deficit.
All right, talking about deficit, what's the plan? We have a deficit of 9.18 trillion. How much of that do we expect to source from domestic markets, and how much can we look out for?
Well, in terms of the subsidy, a little part of it is projected to come from privatization proceeds, just under 300 billion naira. So the privatization proceeds may come from domestic or foreign investors in the excuse me, in the enterprises that are going to be privatized. On the other side, which is debt, new borrowings, that's the big part of it. 1.7 trillion naira of that is projected to come from drawdowns on already negotiated multilateral and bilateral, debt, and that's essentially foreign. And then of the balance of just under 8 trillion naira, some of that is projected to come from foreign and some from, domestic sources. But the Debt Management Office keeps track of this and keeps watch over the market. And depending on the circumstances of the market, if the circumstances look right to tap the international capital market, they will do so. Otherwise, the bulk of that will come from the domestic capital market.
All right, so before we let you go, I know you do have your day filled. So when I was going through the budget officer, you said that you have the vision to use technology to mobilize and distribute the nation's resources to engender sustainable socio-economic development. I'm interested in the technology. Everyone's talking about AI now and technology. How much of technology has your office adopted? You've been there for I think 2 administrations now. So tell us what new things have you brought, has technology brought on board that has made your work more effective, more efficient for the nation?
Well, clearly we have deployed, technology significantly. Before I got to the budget office, the budget process used to be very tedious. It used to be a case of agencies submitted their budgets to the budget office in massive Ghana must go bags and whatever, tons of paper. We changed all of that. We automated the process. Agencies sit back in their offices and upload their budgets on the budget preparation, system, and we simply review their budgets, online and all that. So a lot of our work has been automated. The same with even the parastatals and government-owned enterprises. We developed, and this is a locally developed application by the budget office, which we call BEAMS, for short, and that's the medium which they prepare and submit their budgets, because all of these government-owned enterprises and parastatals, they're in disparate, businesses and endeavors and engagements, and they all deployed different, technologies, accounting systems, and all of that, and they just used to send their budgets in all kinds of formats. But we've done this to it and standardize the format in which they too can, submit their budgets to us, virtually for review. But more importantly, again, when we look at that vision, it talks about not just how we, budget office, will deploy technology, but the entire ecosystem for public finance management. And so what you see is that the FIRS, the Federal Revenue Service, which is a key generator of the revenues that we appropriate in the budget, there's an increasing deployment of technology, and in 2024, you're going to see even a lot more of that. You've also, even in the, day-to-day, operations of government, in terms of now, all payments, government payments, are simply automated. Online, government doesn't write checks. Government, there are no checks. Every payment is made online, and all of these help with greater accountability, because you have it's easier to establish an audit trail when all of the transactions happen online. So there's increasing deployment of technology, and technology is something that just keeps evolving.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for your time. And of course, we do hope to see even more of that technology and see it bring more transparency and fluidity in the system. Thank you so much, Director General Budget Office, Mr. Ben Akabweze, and do have a great Boxing Day and the rest of the holidays.
Thank you, Ini. A pleasure.